The NBA Draft is an annual event dating back to 1947 in which the teams from the National Basketball Association can draft players who are eligible and wish to join the league. These are typically college basketball players. But international players are also eligible to be drafted. College players who have finished their 4-year college eligibility are automatically eligible for selection, while the underclassmen have to declare their eligibility and give up their remaining college eligibility. International players who are at least 22 years old are automatically eligible for selection, while the players younger than 22 have to declare their eligibility. Players who are not automatically eligible but have declared their eligibility are often called early entrants, or early entry candidates. The draft usually takes place near the end of June, during the NBA offseason. Since 1989, the draft has consisted of 2 rounds. This is much shorter than the entry drafts of the other major professional sports leagues in the United States and Canada, all of which run at least 7 rounds. 60 players are selected in each draft. No player may sign with the NBA until he has been eligible for at least 1 draft. In the past, high school players were also eligible to be selected. However, starting in the 2006 draft, high school players were not eligible to enter the draft directly after graduating from high school. The rules now state that high school players will gain eligibility for draft selection 1 year after their high school graduation, and they must also be at least 19 years old as of the end of the calendar year of the draft. Some players have chosen to use that year to play professionally overseas, for example, such as Brandon Jennings. Thonmaker was eligible for the 2016 draft despite not going to college because he chose to undertake a postgraduate year, so he was technically 1 year removed from graduation. Some players must be at least 19 years of age during the calendar year of the draft. And a player who completed basketball eligibility at an American high school must also be at least 1 year removed from the graduation of his high school class. Restrictions exist on players signing with sports agents and on declaring for, then withdrawing from, drafts, although most of them are enforced by the NCAA rather than the NBA. There had been only 44 draftees from high school to college to play in the NBA throughout this process. Any players who are not an international player must be at least 1 year out of the graduation of his high school class in order for them to qualify for the upcoming draft. Not many high school players went directly to the NBA draft for almost 20 years after Darryl Dawkins in 1975 because of the exposure of the college games. In the early years of the draft, teams would select players until they ran out of prospects. The 1960 and 1968 drafts went 21 rounds. By 1974, it had stabilized to 10 rounds, which held up until 1985. When the draft was shortened to 7 rounds by agreement with the National Basketball Players Association. The drafts from 1989 onward have been limited to 2 rounds, which gives undrafted players the chance to try out for any team. From 2009 through 2015, the college underclassmen had until the day before the April signing period to withdraw their name from the draft and retain NCAA eligibility. Since 2016, players could enter the draft and participate in the NBA Draft Combine multiple times and retain NCAA eligibility by withdrawing from the draft within 10 days after the end of the mid-May NBA Draft Combine. The NBA Draft Lottery is an annual event held by the NBA, where the teams who did not make the playoffs in the past year participate in a state lottery-style process in order to determine the first 3 picks of the draft. Until 2018, the team with the worst record receives the best odds of receiving the first pick. The NBA introduced the lottery process in 1985. The league was attempting to counter accusations that certain teams were purposefully losing in order to gain a chance to participate in the annual coin flip, where the worst team in each division flips a coin to see who will receive the first pick in the upcoming draft. Since 2019, the first 4 picks have been determined by the lottery. In the lottery system, the league uses a lottery-style ping-pong ball machine with 14 balls numbered 1 to 14. And 1,004-digit combinations are assigned to the 14 lottery teams until 2018. The worst team received 250 combinations, the second worst getting 199. The third worst team 156. And so on. The first 3 draft picks were determined. Starting in 2019, the 3 worst teams receive 140 combinations each. The fourth worst 125. And so on. Those 3 teams will have an equal chance of winning the top overall pick. After the first 4 picks are determined, the rest of the teams are ordered in reverse order based on their record in the preview.